Good evening, viewers. We welcome you to our second episode. Today, we are going to be discussing about intelligence in the context of private security. But for us to understand intelligence in the context of private security, we should first understand what is intelligence. Intelligence simply means information that is being analyzed and refined, or in other words, it is decision advantage. As long as you have decision advantage, it means that for you to have a position of decision advantage, you have certain intelligence or certain refined information that give you decision advantage on another one. What can I do, for an example, for us to understand intelligence from a layman position? Let us give an example. A little girl goes to the police station and reports, "Good afternoon, officer. In my neighborhood, it's house number 2B2. Let's assume this is a house number. It's house number 2B2. Every day around 9 p.m., there's a white open truck which comes and it drops about 4 men every day. And this has been happening for about 2 weeks. What this lady has given the police, it is information. It is not intelligence. It is information. Why is it information? Because that detail has not yet been analyzed and has not yet been refined. So it remains information. Then it means that the police cannot carry a K-47 and go to house number 2B2 and start shooting around. No, they cannot do that. At the same time, the police cannot go and knock and inquire, hello, who is who? The police cannot do that. What the police has to do is that after receiving this information, they sit down. Because what they've done, they've first processed the first pillar of intelligence, which is collection or information informed. What they first do is they first sit down and they do an analysis based on the intelligence, based on the information which they have been given. What is the analysis which they do? First is to send surveillance officers to go and man the area to see who are these men. It's either they can determine and see that no, this little girl has come and reported what these men who these men are, their security guards. Or the other information, no, who these men, these are soldiers who are operating in that area, but they are operating not clothed. So in other words, their cover might have been blood because already this girl has seen them and she has resorted to report to the police. Then that means that people in that area already know. That is now intelligence. Or okay, they can discover that no, these are the robbers which we are investigating. That's another information which has now been processed. How has that been processed? It has been processed because they sent surveillance officers and they discovered in the information. So already there are two pillars. That's what we now call intelligence. First, they received an information that certain men every day at 9 p.m. they come at house number 2B2 and they did their surveillance. And when they did their surveillance, they discovered that these are now robbers. That is now intelligence. And when they gather that intelligence, they now have an advantage decision making. They can now make decisions based on intelligence, not based on information. In every security sector, we don't make decisions based on emotions. We don't make decisions based on information. We make decisions based on intelligence. What is intelligence? Intelligence simply means information that has been analyzed and you have refined. They've analyzed the men who come every day at 9 p.m. with guns, and it has been refunded. And what is the next step which they are going to take? It is decision making. So intelligence simply means information that has been analyzed and refined. Here in Zimbabwe, we have certain intelligence agencies. We have the CIO, which is well known as the President's Office. We have the MIT, which is well known as military intelligence. We have police intelligence. We have prison intelligence. We have Air Force intelligence. And then we also have in the private sector what we call private intelligence. In private intelligence, what is private intelligence? In the private sector, there's a ministry which we call Ministry of Home Affairs and Culture and Heritage. It is the ministry which license companies as security guards or private investigators. That license permits security guards or private investigators to operate legally. But under the Department of Private Investigation, for you to do good private investigations, you should also have a branch which we call private intelligence. It's a branch which is under the private sector. So, in intelligence, we have types of intelligence. We have tactical intelligence, strategic intelligence, and we have operational and intelligence. All these are type of intelligence. Then we also have foreign and domestic intelligence. In private intelligence, we depend on domestic intelligence, intelligence which has to do with our domestic home. But state intelligence agencies can also do foreign intelligence operations. Then we have pillars of intelligence. What are the pillars of intelligence? We have 7 pillars of intelligence. The first pillar of intelligence is collection. Collection of intelligence. How do we collect intelligence? We have techniques we use to collect intelligence. One of the techniques is surveillance. Another technique is interview. By talking, we collect intelligence. We have undercover operations. Through undercover operations, we can collect intelligence. We have clandestine operations. Through clandestine operations, we collect intelligence. We have crime scene investigations. We collect intelligence. We have financial investigations. We collect intelligence. We have crime mapping, which is done by police intelligence. It's another part of intelligence collection. Then all type of intelligence, the way it is gathered, it can also be defined. We have HUMINT, which we will know as human intelligence. We have OSINT, which is open source intelligence. We have SIGINT, it is signal intelligence. We have COMINT, which is communications intelligence. We have ELINT, which is electronic intelligence. We have IMINT, which is imaginary intelligence. We have GEOINT, which is geospatial intelligence. Then we have CYBINT, which is cyber intelligence. All these are type of intelligence whereby we gather intelligence. What is HUMINT? HUMINT, it is intelligence which is gathered from people. Let us take for example, what happened in Grove. We are all acquainted with animal structure issue. What worked most there? It was HUMINT intelligence, human source intelligence. Who is animal structure? Animal structure is so and so guy. So based on that intelligence, they managed to catch a serial killer who had been terrorizing Grove area. And HUMINT it is one of the most valuable intelligence collection. HUMINT. Without HUMINT, we don't have intelligence. So HUMINT simply means human intelligence. What we have to do is that the int is stands for intelligence. Then HUM is just an abbreviation of human intelligence. Then we have open source intelligence. Open source intelligence, it is the gathering of intelligence through open source places. For example, this is Sunday Mail. This is Sunday Mail. With this Sunday Mail, United States of America or Botswana or India can get certain intelligence about Zimbabwe through a newspaper. That's what we call open source intelligence. It is intelligence which is not classified. It is open for everyone. open for an ECD child, open for the president, open for the general major, open for the army general, open even for a thief, open even for a robber. That is open source intelligence. We have YouTube videos. It is open source intelligence. You open source intelligence. It is intelligence which is open for everyone. Open for everyone. Publications. That is open source intelligence. TikTok videos. That is open source intelligence. Then we have signal intelligence. Signal intelligence. It is intelligence which is gathered through signals. I'm not going to go into this one because it doesn't concern us. And communication intelligence, electronic intelligence, it doesn't concern the public. Imaginary intelligence, this one has to do with Air Force. Geospatial intelligence, it has to do with Air Force. Cyber, this is to do with us. So those are types of intelligence gathering, and we also have types of intelligence techniques. That falls under collection of intelligence. When intelligence is collected, it is then analyzed. How is it analyzed? How is it analyzed? For intelligence to be analyzed, we have what we call the 4x4 evaluation. We have what we call the 4x4 evaluation. This is an evaluation method whereby information received from certain informers, it is evaluated. If you read, if you start about the twin tower bombing, America was aware that Iraq and Afghanistan they are immediate threats, but they didn't act upon those intelligence because their 4x4 evaluation, they evaluated the informers as irrelevant or unreliable. That's the 4x4 evaluation. When you go to the police station or when you go to the CIO, they just don't take your information and run without information. No, they evaluate that information and they classify and they put it and they evaluate it according to what. When you stand at A1 or stuff, I'm not going to explain it, but when you are at the lower here, it means that your information is just good as nothing. So it is part of intelligence. So we have what we call tasking. Tasking. We have collection of intelligence, we have processing of intelligence, we have analysis of intelligence. The intelligence which is being collected, it can now be analyzed. For the first example which I have given, whereby a child go and reports to the police station that is house number 2B2. Every day we see around at least 4 armed men who go in that house and go out in the morning. That is what we call analysis. The intelligence, the information is now being analyzed, or the intelligence is now being analyzed. And after the analysis, that's when we can discover no, these are robbers, no, these are security guards, no, these are close protection officers, no, these are personal security details, no, these are soldiers or so. It all happens on analysis. Then on dissemination, we now see that with this intelligence which we have, who are we going to give this intelligence for decision, for action? That's what we call the decision making. That's when we see that sometimes CIO gathers intelligence and then it gives to Zimbabwe National Army who act upon that intelligence. But how does it give that intelligence to another agent? It is done through what we call intelligence writing. When we write intelligence, we use the bluff method. What is the bluff method? It is bottom line up front. It is the bottom line up front. What does it mean by bottom line up front? It means that we write a summary of the most important information, at least on the first 5 lines or first 10 lines of the page. Then all these other 15 to 20 pages will be just explaining that information in detail. Because The purpose of gathering intelligence, we have a certain caliber of people whom we call clients. Clients. Clients are people who have to work based on information which are gathered. They are clients. So maybe clients they don't have time. Let's take for example the president. The president doesn't have time to work on all the information to read the way intelligence how which is being saved weekly. He doesn't have that much time. So what he just do is to read the bluff and give a certain decision based on that one. However, this is just a breakdown of what we're giving you. This is just a breakdown of information which is given you. And also, what I have forgotten to mention is that intelligence is also classified. It falls under counterintelligence. In counterintelligence, information is not classified. What is counterintelligence? Counterintelligence, it is simply protecting intelligence. That is counterintelligence. Simply protecting what we have. But intelligence is a game of deception. I don't know Christians who are into intelligence departments, how do they operate, especially when they counterintelligence department. Counterintelligence is simply, in fact, the whole intelligence process is simply deceptive. When you have certain intelligence, you protect that intelligence, you protect it against espionage or leakage. Is type of counterintelligence. So we have three types of intelligence protection under counterintelligence. We have this defensive information. What is defensive information? Defensive information simply means classifying intelligence, whereby you see documents written, restricted, confidential, and secret. That is the classification of intelligence, or that is the classification of intelligence. So this is what we call defensive information. It falls under the category of counterintelligence. Then we have offensive information, whereby you feed false information, which also operates with dissemination of information, whereby you feed propaganda. Propaganda it actually falls under counterintelligence, whereby you feed false information to make sure that you are protecting the intelligence which you have. But this, I was just giving a background for you to understand what is intelligence. I'm not teaching intelligence. I was just giving a background of intelligence. What we have to discuss is the private sector intelligence. When you come with an investigation, a general mayor investigation, let's say that you want an investigation for us to investigate, for us to do a corporate investigation for you. What we first do is to gather, is to do due diligence. Is this client a true client? What is the motive of this client? What might occur after we have given this client intelligence which the client needs? So what the client gives us when he or she comes to us, it is information. And we act based upon information. Then we gather, we do our investigations, and we give the client the investigation file and the intelligence file, which is explained in a way which we deem is necessary for the client to connect. So it is a very bad interpretation that when people hear the word intelligence, they just run away, saying these people kill people, these people are very bad people, these people so and so. No, a country cannot operate and cannot feel safe secure without intelligence agencies. The purpose of state intelligence agencies it is to protect the state secrets. It is to make sure that Zimbabwe security is surmountous to the core. So those who are security threats should feel threatened by the existence of intelligence agencies. But by its original and its natural existence, it is for the betterment of the security of the state. But for private security intelligence, it's your path to do cases well. So intelligence simply means disseminated information, analyzed and evaluated information, which gives the client a better point for decision making. That is what simply intelligence means. So, as we go on, we'll be discussing more and more. We are just giving you the basics. I give basics in a way that agitates you to go and read. I don't give information in full. So I believe by this information alone, it has agitated you to go and read. Thank you.